Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Finger guns, bang, 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 bullet, bullet, gun, gun, gun. Now, I know you don't watch anything, but have you seen the Lego movie?
Yes.
All right, good. That's what Emmett, when he walks into the saloon, bullet, bullet, gun, gun. That always made me laugh. All right, well, we are here. What was it? 2 weeks ago, we did quarterbacks. Last week, we did wide receivers, which means we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Either we talk about running backs, which I don't like running backs, or we talk about tight ends. And talking about tight ends just never works because it's like, is it Travis Kelce? No. Whatever. So the first running back we are talking about is Breece Hall. He's being a top 5 dynasty running back, which is what he should be almost by default because there's so many old and hurt running backs at this point, but he's that kind of talented and has shown that it doesn't matter that it's on the Jets.
Exactly.
So let's get to the first trade. 12-team Superflex with full 2-point PPR for tight end premium. Breece Hall for Calvin Ridley and Jake Ferguson. I love that we had to specify the PPR for tight ends because it was Jake Ferguson. And yes, I am throwing disrespect out there.
That is a little disrespectful. Ferguson has been pretty solid this year.
Breece Hall, 592.5. Now, I love me some Calvin Ridley, but 302 is right. Like, he is not worth Breece Hall. And the 58.7 from Jake Ferguson, which honestly should be a little higher because the tight end premium button doesn't account for 2 points per reception. Throw that up to, let's double it, and we're still at 410 versus 592. Yeah, this, I love Calvin. I have my jersey hanging right there. As soon as I see, I'm on Pristine Auction every day. As soon as I see that new Jaguars green jersey, I am buying. I'm going to spend way too much money to get it.
For a zero.
Like, I hate it, but it's Calvin Ridley, so I'm getting it. He's already started signing some Jaguars mini helmets, so it's got to be on the way. I love Calvin Ridley, and I am all in on this Jacksonville offense, even though, man, they're streaky. Like, they have some games where they just don't feel like playing, it looks like. But I don't think Calvin Ridley is getting back up to, man, Breece Hall's probably, what, second, third round startup value?
Probably, yeah. As a top 3 running back, yeah.
Calvin Ridley's not doing that, and he's not even scoring enough for me to want to do this. And maybe you did this trade happen before Sunday where he had back-to-back. Like, maybe this was Breece Hall did that against Denver, so let me get out. I still need more than that. And again, this is me piling on my bias towards loving Calvin Ridley. It's still not enough. This is still Breece Hall. Every word that belongs in there every single time.
Very, very easily Breece Hall. And I mean, this is the next trade, I think, is actually one of the best trades that I've seen with Breece Hall involved in it. But there were a lot of really bad trades still for Breece, even after the Denver Broncos game, even after the Philadelphia Eagles game. Like, there were still a lot within this month of October over the past couple of weeks that were just like Breece for a late first and a second, or like one was some crappy running back. Oh, it was Jonathan Mingo in a late first. That's what it was for Breece Hall. And I'm like,
late first.
What are we doing here? Like, it's weird that Breece has started to dominate in terms of the backfield touches and return to kind of what he was like before the ACL injury. Not even mentioning the fact that the further and further away that he gets from that ACL injury and he's not recovering, he is like strengthening and all that kind of stuff. And that's like the second year removed thing from the ACL, like we saw with Saquon Barkley last year. Like, Breece Hall, 22 years old right now, 23 next year for a second year removed from the ACL. I mean, he's going to be a phenomenal running back. Like, this is what we were expecting Jonathan Taylor or like to be 2-3 years ago when he was Jonathan Taylor. It's just now we're just doing it with Breece Hall, but it feels like it's at a discount because of the injury and because he's on the Jets. Zach Wilson's still the quarterback. But man, if you can buy in now on Hall, this is, especially at these prices, it's a fantastic move.
Next one is very interesting. You're right. 12-team Superflex, Breece Hall and DK Metcalf for A.J. Brown and Jordan Addison. I like every single player in this trade. This is going to be tough. Breece Hall, 582, DK Metcalf, 450 for a total of 1032. A.J. Brown, 675, Jordan Addison, 368, total of 1043. So this is even. Like, who cares about literally 10 points?
It's one of those fun deals too, where it's you describe it as like the sandwich because it's like AJ Brown is very clearly the best asset in this deal.
And Jordan Addison is
The very clearly the worst asset in the deal, and I say worst is in like he is fourth on
the least
4 out of
valuable.
4,
Yeah.
but yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, do you want the best player or do you want the two very good players?
This is going to get very situational for me because it has to be when you're trading for a running back. If I'm competing and who was hurt more recently than Nick Chubb? Like maybe like you are luckily riding David Montgomery, or you had Nick Chubb and you were stringing things along and they've started to fall apart. So you're like, you know what? I need a running back that I can put in there that will get me points and I don't have to worry about it. If we had one game where DK Metcalf was like DK from 2 years ago, where he put up 30 points, like he caught 2 touchdowns, I would feel a lot better about it. That offense seems not stellar. Like it's not even what it was last year. And it was good last year. It wasn't great. Like that's really only thing that's holding me back. But like also imagine if I'm sorry, I'm saying these words out loud. What if they just shelve Justin Jefferson because they're having a terrible season?
Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me.
And then Jordan Addison gets wide receiver 1 usage.
I mean, if you look production wise, like you said, like DK hasn't had like a DK Metcalf game. Like his best game so far is 6 for 112. And the 2 games that he has scored a touchdown in, he hasn't topped 50 yards in either one of those games. So he's had either the touchdown or he's had like 70 yards. It's like one of the two. He hasn't had both in one game yet. That's kind of similar to what Jordan Addison's done. I mean, Jordan Addison scored 4 touchdowns this year. I think it was 4. Has decent yardage as well because 2 or 3 of those touchdowns were like 50-yard touchdowns as well. So I mean, Addison's doing basically DK Metcalf things, except he's just in a more pass-friendly offense without his wide receiver 1. Like his only competition right now is KJ Osborne. Obviously, Justin Jefferson will come back, but that's later on down the road. Addison can solidify himself as the for sure wide receiver 2 ahead of Osborne with good production with Justin Jefferson out. Like there's an argument to be made that like DK Metcalf and Jordan Addison should basically be similar. I could see people saying that they would prefer Addison over Metcalf for the 4-year age difference that you get as well too. You get the ascending Addison versus kind of the plateauing DK Metcalf. And then you're taking AJ Brown over Breece Hall. So I feel like that's kind of the way that I go with this. I'm taking Brown and Addison, but it's very close.
All right, so I want to throw some names out to see how much it would change. For only an extra 50 points in the analyzer, Devonta Smith instead of DK. I do that so easily.
I think that's where it changes. Yeah.
But let's go below. And there's a couple of names I still think, okay, you're really messing with the age of all of this, but Devontae Adams.
No, I'll take AJ Brown.
Slow games, but still, he's Devontae Adams.
I'll take AJ Brown.
Okay. Drake London.
I think I'll still take AJ Brown and Addison, but that's close as well too.
All right. And then the name that is apparently tied to Drake London since last night, Brandon Ayuk.
Oh.
By the way, go listen to the Trade Addicts pod whenever I put it out to find out why they're tied together, because there were like 6 questions with them to put together for some reason.
I'll take Hall and Ayuk. I think Ayuk is undervalued. If we're going below DK Metcalf, I would rather have Ayuk than Metcalf.
Metcalf is 424. Ayuk is 357.
It's an ADP discrepancy. Their October DLF ADP is wild. Ayuk is still the wide receiver 20 in ADP, and that's just he should be more of a wide receiver 1.
Okay, so L's and W's need to be given right now with this next player. I'm going to take the L on this one. I have spent a lot of time saying that Travis Etienne cannot and should not be anything close to a workhorse back. He is.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I loved Tank Bigsby landing there. I thought he would be good enough as your average. Well, still anything that changes pace makes you a change of pace back, even though we use that as more of like for the shiftier guys. But like, put Travis Etienne out there for like 60% and change of pace to that grinder, slower, more forceful, not slow. Well, slower, yes, but more forceful Bigsby. Like I thought there would be more of a split. It's not, and Etienne's doing good things with it. So
He has 18 plus carries in 5 of his 6 games.
W to Addison, L to Russ.
To be fair, I'll take an L as well too, because I was worried about Etienne coming in with Bigsby. So I'm taking more of the L. It should have been a W. I honestly I should have stuck harder with Travis Etienne.
So it's like 0.75 of a W.
Maybe half.
Just take it.
Half and half. And a good old Arnold Palmer.
Army Palmy alert. Okay. 12-team Superflex. Travis Etienne and a mid-first for AJ Brown. Ooh, I love that we get another AJ Brown trade. Etienne in at 409, mid-first 349 for a total of 758. AJ Brown 675. This is what you're supposed to do, 2 for 1, especially when one is a pick. You're overpaying a bit to get the better asset. If I'm breaking apart a wide receiver like AJ Brown, it's usually to get another wide receiver. I don't do AJ Brown for Etienne in a pick. Like that's not really something I try and do. So it's weird to think about it like that, but I get it. Like you need to see, here's the thing. You're aging down from a 26-year-old wide receiver. Like, why do you do this? What situation are you okay sacrificing AJ Brown? I guess if you're in an active enough league, you now have Travis Etienne and you can get a very good wide. Go get Cooper Kupp with a 24 first. And you probably get a second back with a mid first.
Yeah.
So I guess
or go get Devonta Smith.
I would do that all day.
There you go.
Especially because you just got rid of AJ Brown. You might as well fill the hole with another Eagles wide receiver. Okay. No, I'll take it back. I get it now. Again, assuming this is an active enough league, I would do that. If this is one of those leagues where this trade is this trade and I'm going to end up most likely drafting that pick, I don't like it as much then.
So I was looking up because now with the we're kind of halfway through the year-ish. We have a better idea of where these first can kind of end up. So I pegged it as a mid-first. However, the team that first belongs to is 2-4, but they're third in points for.
Wow.
So I was
so they'll even out.
So I was thinking that they would even out. But then when you look at the roster, they just lost Justin Jefferson, though they just acquired AJ Brown. They also have George Pickens, I guess, is there. Jacoby Myers is in there too. Their running backs are like Joe Mixon and Rashad White.
Well,
Isaiah Pacheco,
great, but they're set to score points.
So yeah, so it's kind of weird that it is that's why I labeled it as a mid 24 first. But I feel like it could lean towards being more top 5 if they potentially don't make the playoffs. That's a bet that I would probably be willing to make if they're missing Justin Jefferson for the next 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, like if there's a world this turns into Travis Etienne and Marvin Harrison Jr., clearly that's an insane win.
Yeah, but, well, I mean, I don't think that's happening. But this is Travis Etienne and Emeka Egbuka,
or even Drake May.
It makes it a lot more interesting from that regard. That person acquiring Etienne kind of bet that first is going to be top 5, and I like it.
All right, next 12-team, 1 quarterback, Travis Etienne and Romeo Doubs for an early first, an early second, Rashid Shaheed and Deuce Vaughn. So Travis Etienne comes in at 600, Romeo Doubs 127, not bad, for a total of 727. 24 first at 591, again early first. 24 second, 150, Rashid Shaheed 62, Deuce Vaughn 12 for a total of 815.
If you want a little bit more context on that early first, that team is also 2-4 right now, but they're more like their points for is like down at the bottom as well too. But they're in third in their league. So there are 2 other teams that are 0-6. So it potentially looks like that it's probably going to end up being the 103.
Yeah, but if they're getting Travis Etienne and his 20 points per game, and then Doubs, who, I mean, his average is going to be misleading because he can get 1 catch or 18 catches in a game, but he still has the ability to put a spike week up there to help your week. So he's good there. That team is going to be better for this trade, even though Shaheed is coming off of a ridiculous game. In a 1 quarterback league this is pretty much a first and a second for Etienne, and then just getting rid of Doubs for whatever, right? Like,
Yeah, I can be on board with that.
Like, I feel like that's probably the best you'll get right now for him anyway, and especially if that looks like if they're really scoring that poorly and are still up there, hopefully they fall out enough that they don't make the playoffs, so this ends up being like the 105.
Mhm.
It's a strong class. Like, there's gonna be a bunch of good players in this first round, so even if you don't even if it's not good enough of a pick to well, I guess the 101 is gonna be more of it in one quarterback.
Right, and then 102 is probably Brock Bowers,
Yeah,
maybe.
and then you have a bunch of running backs and wide receivers that are gonna be pushing themselves around to get into like, there's so much more that needs to happen for the rest of this to play out, I think. So it's gonna be a strong pick, assuming it's in that, like, 5-6 spot. Even in a one quarterback, I still think we're gonna get some very good players. So the next player we're gonna talk about is another L of mine on this one. Kenneth Walker's doing pretty well. And honestly, like, I just thought it would be more split between him and Charbonnet.
And it has not been.
It has not been. So the first trade we are going to talk about is 12-team Superflex, Kenneth Walker for Ramondre Stevenson and Michael Mayer. How about Michael Mayer finally catching a ball? Or a
Or
bunch of
or
them.
2, yeah.
Mm. Um, so Kenneth Walker in at 432, Ramondre Stevenson 279, Michael Mayer 63. Almost like what we were saying before with what I was saying before with Etienne and Bigsby is kind of like what I thought would be with Walker and Charbonnet. Charbonnet seems like he would be a better steady Eddie kind of running back. And honestly, he's better at catching the ball than Walker is. But Walker's that dude that any run can go for a 60-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
So, like, I thought that's why they would be worked in more intermingled, and it's just not happening. Walker right now averaging 18.3 points per game is per game running back 9.
I've been trying to hold steady with Ramondre because he's gotten the volume, and I think people got worried. Was it 2 weeks ago? It was the week 5 that his volume kind of took a dip, but it was a massive blowout game, and I kind of just threw that one out. But his volume last week was pretty solid. He did sit for I don't know if it was like a full quarter, but he did miss a chunk of the game for a little bit, but then came back and then scored a touchdown, and the volume was all that good. And because of the touchdown, the fantasy production was still pretty good. So I'm still in on Ramondre. I think we just need to kind of readjust our expectations with him because we had the expectation that he was going to be a back end RB1 because that's what he was last year. And that is just not the case anymore. I think that he's just going to be like a solid 2. Whereas Kenneth Walker is an RB1. So if you're able to move from an RB2, add a yes, highly potential, but hasn't really produced all that much prospect kind of player in Michael Mayer to go to get that. You drop down 3 years in age as well too at the running back position. Like this, to me, this is a phenomenal trade to go get Kenneth Walker.
Next trade, Kenneth Walker and Gabe Davis for Jahmyr Gibbs and Darnell Washington. You found your way to work Jahmyr Gibbs in here anyway.
I did. I did.
So Kenneth Walker, 432, Gabe Davis, 78 for a total of 510. Jahmyr Gibbs, 513. Yeah, it's a little further away than it should be. And Darnell Washington, 8 for a total of 521. So this is very, very close in the analyzer. Walker and Gibbs should be closer together, which pushes it a little further apart, but it's still super, super close. And it also comes down to you're getting 2 players between Kenneth Walker and Gabe Davis that you can use.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you are pro Gibbs, even if you think he's going to come back, get healthy and 40-50% of the backfield, like he gets his touches. He's not going to be the dude like David, assuming David Montgomery can stay healthy. But even when he's not, Gibbs is not going to be an 80% touch guy. It's just not what the Lions do. So to get guys that will most likely, at best or worst, I don't even know which it is, they'll score similarly. I guess for best for Gibbs, he'll score similarly to Kenneth Walker. But you can plug Gabe Davis in your lineup and hope for a touchdown. You're not really hoping for much out of Darnell Washington. Like, I don't think this is enough of an upgrade from Walker to Gibbs to lose out on a player. Even if you're not starting Gabe Davis, like, it's still, there's other players I upgrade to. And again, even if you're rebuilding, you're not changing much. Gibbs is going to score points when he comes back, so you're not really losing that many points off your lineup. He's 1 year younger than Kenneth Walker. Like unless you just straight up like Gibbs that much more, which if you do, that's cool. That's fine. I'm not there. To me, this is pretty easily the Walker side.
I'm still bro Gibbs. I still like him. I think, again, kind of like Ramondre, we just need to readjust our expectations. I don't know if Jahmyr Gibbs is the top 5 dynasty running back. That's not to say that he sucks, but we're gonna have to pick and choose kind of our games, and he has an opportunity here with David Montgomery out. Hopefully, Gibbs himself can come back and be healthy with Monty out for the next month. But I mean, yeah, you're just gonna have to, I think, take some lumps sometimes with Gibbs, because the way the Lions are going right now, there's no reason to run him into the ground when you have David Montgomery, who is there specifically for that reason. So in games that are going to be massive blowouts for the Lions, it's probably going to be a Monty game. In games where it's going to be closer, maybe even the Lions trail a little bit, it's probably going to be more of a Jahmyr Gibbs game. So I think for all that stuff, it's probably a good reason not to have Gibbs in your top 5. And I think that there is an argument to have Walker over Gibbs in Dynasty. And the addition of Gabe Davis in this trade is just, it pushes that way too far. I honestly, I can't envision anybody taking the Jahmyr Gibbs side on this one. Even
It's really funny that like we are so stuck on a 78.1 pointed player, but it's true.
it's just so much better of a secondary piece than Darnell Washington, and especially whenever we're considering the fact that Kenneth Walker and Jahmyr Gibbs are basically equal, if not even preferring Walker over Gibbs, especially from a production side. If you're competing and you have Gibbs, you just move over to Kenneth Walker. That's a way better player to plug into your RB1, RB2 spot. And you're getting the production out of Gabe Davis as well, too.
And Addison was lazy and did not grab a trade from our Watchers League, so I put it on here. Russ did some work.
Let's go, Russ.
Russ didn't feel like listening to Addison talk for that last one, so he just did some other stuff, is really what it comes down to. Sorry.
That's all right.
So the Listener League, 12-team Superflex, PPR, tight end premium, 0.75 points premium, 0.05 points for return yardage. This is not a Trade Addicts podcast, but I said it anyway. So the trade was Justin Fields, a late first. This team is first. They're 5-1 and deserve to be there. Justin Fields, a late first and a 25 second for Tua and Aaron Jones. Justin Fields in at 494, the late first in at 278, 25 second at 77 for a total of 798. Tua, 762. Aaron Jones, 221, total of 982.3. If you're competing, you're 5-1, you're literally in first place. Do you freak out over 2 games of Justin Fields? I don't think so. But if you can do this, that's fine anyway. Like, you're getting Tua, who is doing awesome. Aaron Jones is going to be good for the rest of the season. And if you're in first place, you are ready to say, I'm going to win this thing. I so easily do this move, because what's the real difference between, Tua and Fields production wise? If Justin Fields keeps playing like he was, they're probably going to be pretty similar. So you're not really changing much there, but you're upgrading a whole of a lot in value, and getting Aaron Jones is going to score a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong. I think 493.4 is too low for Justin Fields after he had his little turnaround.
Sure.
But it's not going to catch up to Tua just yet.
No. When I saw this trade come through, I mean, like, I looked at like the email on my phone and I was like, this is actually like a very interesting deal. And and looking at it this way from like the analyzer's point of view, like, I kind of agree with it. Like, I was like, man, Fields and a first for Tua, like, even if you believe that Fields and Tua are relatively close, and adding the first pushes it over a little bit so that, maybe you will take Justin Fields there. There's still something to be said about the safety of Tua.
Yep.
Obviously, if he got hurt, then that would be an issue.
The Chicago Bears have the first and second draft pick right now.
Exactly. Like, there's just so much more safety with Tua. He's explosive. He's in an amazing offense with an amazing head coach and system, amazing receivers all around him. There's so much more safety with Tua there. And then you're getting Aaron Jones for a 25 second. Like, and if you want to take like a little bit of the value from the Justin Fields and the 24 first, if you say that that's more valuable than Tua, take a little bit of that value away and put it on with the 25-second to go get Jones. Like that is just this whole entire thing is perfect to go
Yeah.
get.
I also see a little bit, but also, wow. But also thinking about it from the other side, if you're bad and you want to keep being bad, you're getting
Picks.
Justin Fields, who, let's face it, Justin Fields is going to keep starting. Even if the Bears are still bad, they go get Caleb, someone will take Justin Fields, and Justin Fields will start. You're getting a very young, very dynamic quarterback and a first, and you're getting a running back that will start scoring points off of your team. Like, this is a good move for a rebuilding team.
But Tua and Aaron Jones wins.
But on that note, that is absolutely the end of the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ Fisher at Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes_. We'll catch you next time.